Good afternoon, everyone, and good afternoon, chaps. Welcome to the Green Arrow podcast from Fantasy Football Hub. As we look back on potentially the biggest car crash in FPL history in Gameweek 11, and tentatively look forward to Gameweek 12. My name is Fergi. Adam, welcome back. What colour, dare I ask, was your arrow in Gameweek 11?
Thanks, Fergie. I think I did the impossible. I got a green arrow.
You did? Oh my word!
I know.
How did you manage that? Well played, sir.
It's pretty impressive, isn't it?
Is that because your rank was so bad? The only way is up, or?
No, well, it was a 50. Was it 50? No, it was a 20k green, 25k green arrow. It's so marginal, but to be honest, I wasn't too fussed whether it was green or red because I knew it wasn't going to be too much of a swing either way. So you have these game weeks. I mean, it's arguably, I think, particularly where we're not factoring in blank game weeks, it's got to be the worst game week of all time. I'm seeing some scores of people scoring 10, 11 and 10. I mean, it's that, how unlucky to get. And
Cole Palmer outscores your whole team on it.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not even, the thing is, they weren't even bad teams. You looked at them. I mean, when you think looking at Salah playing Luton, Haaland playing Bournemouth, you know, people like Alvarez, all Villa playing Forest. There were so many good fixtures on paper and absolute disaster.
Listen to this. Listen to this, right?
God.
If you had in your team these players, if you had, and it's very reasonable to have these players. Okay,
yeah.
Both Udogie and Romero is maybe a bit far fetched, but at least one. So if you had Udogie, Romero, Haaland captain, Cash, Burn, Simicast, Maddison, Salah, and Watkins, those players got you a combined 1 point in FPL. How mental is that?
Very template, isn't it? As well,
absolutely very insane. Apart from having to double up with Udogie and Romero, but absolutely.
Do you think this is? Do you think game weeks like this are going to make people appreciate just appearance points? So when you get a 2-pointer from a player, you think, well, at least, you know, I'll take that because it's. I didn't think. I mean, like 10 and 11, it's not even the appearance points. I mean, it's such bad luck. I mean, I don't think any of the teams that score. You couldn't write this game week, but I don't think it's been disastrous for anyone because you're probably looking at maximum 20-25 points, which are sort of covering most teams.
Yeah,
and I think in the higher scoring game weeks, you'll see more of a variance and more of a split. So. Yeah. I think it's just dust yourself off.
Yeah, it's a good point, actually. If you've had a really dreadful score, it's only the same as you getting 50 when someone else has got 70 or something like that.
Exactly.
Exactly that. It's all context, isn't it? It's like you look at the context of your green arrow. Your kind of green or red arrow, and I've definitely had worse rank drops overall. So you're absolutely right. So Adam, you scored 31.
Yeah, so the heroes from my team, there were a couple. Matoma with an incredible assist. I mean, it was great skill to play it off Young and go for the deflection. And then Bowen, I suppose, was the Bowen and Anderson, I think were a little bit unlucky. So Anderson, I think, was on for top bonus, he's definitely on for some bonus points before the yellow card. And then Mitchell scores the second, at the same time. So it's sort of just that switch, did a bit of a switcheroo there. And Bowen, I mean, I don't know what Antonio and Ben Rama were doing, but again, that cost me some points. So not even entirely happy with them. Son, marginally, a goal marginally offside.
Frustrating.
It wasn't the best game week, but we move on. And I look forward to hearing your tales of woe.
Rich, welcome back. What colour was your arrow in Game Week 11?
Well, slightly different story to Adam's green, but I came in with a similar score, 30, and 30 doesn't sound very good normally, but actually that was one of the better scores from last week. I think if you got 30, you kind of felt like you were pretty safe compared to some of the carnage. I had two key games that went in massively in my favour. The first one was where I was pretty all in on Newcastle against Arsenal. I thought they'd do well. I thought they could win the game. I'm not sure they'd win the game, but I thought they could win the game. Obviously, they did, very controversially. And Anthony Gordon got me some points, which was, really something last week. And just a note on that, he didn't get any bonus points. He was on 23 BPS, and he had 3 Newcastle defenders ahead of him on 24, and they all got 3 bonus points each. And I was thinking, well, they're going to add the winning goal bonus. They're going to add the winning goal bonus. And
they do that live.
It was already
it didn't change. I thought it came in the last, when they knew they'd won the game.
They used to.
Right. I didn't know that was a change. And so I'm there waiting for it. It never came. So
yellow card that cost him again.
I was heading for 10, and the yellow card did for him. But anyway, that went in my favour because I wasn't heavily loaded on Arsenal. I think I might have even benched Gabriel, so I didn't have any only Saka in that game. And then, of course, the huge game, probably the most dramatic game ever on Monday night, went into that with no players. I had Cole Palmer first on my bench, so his 12-pointer didn't count for me, and obviously previously owned Pedro Porro, Son, and Maddison. Got rid of them all on wildcard after they scored me 29 points in their last Tottenham home fixture. And if you had Udogie or Romero and those 2 midfielders, you're coming out with negative points from those 3. And it's like, I dodged a bullet there. I was really expecting to, take a hammering on rank in that game, and due to not owning any of them, I got away with it really. So, those were the 2 key things. But what a game! What a game for the neutral.
Amazing.
That was just unbelievable football match. So much incident, so much controversy, 5 disallowed goals.
Do you think
unbelievable?
We're sort of talking off air on this. Do you think VAR added to it and made it a better spectacle, or do you think the delays made it worse?
I couldn't believe how long it took, for one thing. I think we were looking at about a 20-11 finish, for an 8 o'clock kickoff. It was absolutely crazy. There was 12 minutes added on in each half. My personal view is I'm very much anti-VAR. I just want to see it gone. I'll never get that wish. I don't think we're going anywhere without it in future. But yeah, it spoils it for me, regardless of which team I support. It's just too much. And it's taking them too long to make the decisions, especially on things like marginal offsides and stuff like that. I just think it's just taking them too long. That's just my view.
I do agree with that, but I would also say, Rich, that had VAR not been in place, Romero wouldn't have got his red card, and the game would have been completely different. No. And I say that as a Spurs fan, a completely deserved red and the penalty completely changed the game.
Yeah. Well, he dodged one. He did a Beckham type kick out, didn't he? And he got away.
I'm amazed he got away with that. I'm amazed he got away with that, to be honest. But I think overall on VAR, I think there's improvements that can be made. But Adam, you made a really good point just before we went on air. We were having quite a heated chat around kind of around it all, and and how all the big teams nowadays just blaming VAR for everything, not their own kind of responsibility for their own performances. Every time a big team loses, they make a statement. Arteta, I mean, what a joke that was. But the decisions in the main. So even if you say 9 out of 10 decisions now are being made correctly, whereas pre-VAR, you've got to say that maybe half would have been. And I get Rich's point about you had the constant conversation, you had the talking points, you had the drama, you could celebrate goals. I completely get all that, but it depends what you want. It depends if you want that, or it depends if you want the actual integrity of the game in front of you. And I personally think that there is a world where if you can remove the subjectivity, so things like the Gabriel, the golden goal, there's no way in the world anyone can define whether that is a goal or not. There's always going to be subjectivity, and you have to make a rushed decision. Whereas when you have offsides, in the main, when you have goal line technology, I know there's been mistakes on both of those, pretty high profile ones, but they will reduce. I think if you can remove the subjectivity and keep the objectivity, I think VAR would be incredibly useful. I mean, VAR has turned, if you now think that kind of 9 out of 10 games probably have the correct decisions in terms of the football, whereas it wouldn't have. If VAR wasn't there on Monday, Spurs would have very likely gone on and won the game, in my opinion, which is probably the wrong thing because it was an horrendous tackle by Romero, which obviously had the butterfly effect on kind of everything else. So I think that's my view on it. I just wish there seems to be a growing trend of managers and fans just blaming now VAR for everything, and it absolutely winds me up.
I agree with you 100% on that. I think it's not going anywhere. It will get better at like things, without it, with the improvements in AI. It won't be long until offsides are pretty much automated. Exactly.
And instant.
So, and they should, they're factual decisions, and the ball go. In most cases, you can see the ball going out of play, the ball crossing the line. I completely agree. We've got a culture, and it's where everyone likes to blame everyone else, and it annoys me when the pundits, when the fans just constantly blame referees. Most of the things they get wrong, the majority, is a couple of really high profile errors which they've admitted fault to, but the majority are subjective. I think for me, the only one over the weekend which was really controversial was the Sheffield United penalty. I think almost everybody I've spoken to said that wasn't a penalty.
Oh, the Bulldog one, that one.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
The same as the Share one the week before, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I don't think either of them were penalties. But I think that you can argue, whilst I thought Gabriel was fouled, it's subjective. There are people that don't think he was fouled, and we've seen with the handball rule. There's so much subjectivity in the game. We just need to move on from it and just. Accept some of those subjective decisions will go your way, some won't.
We got Ollie Poole, the Hub editor, who I was talking to this morning about this very thing. He said VAR ruined the United game last night. Never a Rashford red, even though he nearly broke his ankle. Again, so it's a subjective thing, right? You can't say whether that is kind of right or wrong. It's your own interpretation. Probably depends if you're a fan. As well, I think, but I just think it's very easy for fans to say that VAR, cost people the game. I mean, Rashford put himself in that position for that. Okay, maybe it was accidental, maybe it was this and that, but he's put himself, in the position, one, to give away a penalty, and then look at a red for treading on someone's ankle. But you can't then turn around and say that it cost United like United.
I mean, they were 2-0 up at the time. They're playing a team with a fraction of the budget.
Exactly.
They technically should be good enough to see out that game. It's not. Exactly. It's embarrassing to use 100%. That as an excuse.
And I also hate, just while we're on it, just like a final thing, this whole thing slowing it down makes it look worse. Do you know what slowing it down does? It actually shows what happened. It's the fans saying, "Oh, it looks worse because it's slowed down." No, it actually shows what happened. That's why you slow things down. You don't slow it down to make it look worse. You slow it down to see actually he stamped all over his ankle, and that's the end of it. Whether you think it's a red or not is subjective, and you are going to get the camps that say it is or isn't. I don't think the rules help. I don't think the football. I have no idea anymore what's a penalty and what's not. I have no idea when a ball hits someone's hand, up until the first 40 years of my life, I could 99% say whether it's going to be given a penalty or not. Now, I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. And the same for fouls.
The European rules are different to the Premier League, though, aren't they? Any sort of hand contact seems to result in a penalty. Like
it's similar to... Remember when the VAR was first introduced into the Premier League, and there were a couple of really dodgy handball pens? I think... The Champions League, they're still on that. And considering we said we don't like people who moan about VAR and referees, and all we've done so far.
I don't think we're moaning about VAR, though. I don't think we're moaning about the actual VAR. We're moaning about the fact that a lot of like my timeline last night on Twitter, I nearly wrote a really antagonistic tweet, and I'm so glad I never, because I would have got such abuse just about saying, just get on with it. Just you just got to beat teams. It's the same with Newcastle, Arsenal. It's the same. Don't get me wrong. I know that there are decisions, right, that go for you and against you and can impact games. But over a whole season, if you're just relying on VAR giving you the decision you want, he's not going to do anything. Like, if Arsenal and Newcastle, again, they've been put in a position where Newcastle have scored the goal. It went their way that time. It doesn't mean that it's the wrong thing and that Arsenal were robbed. And I say that as a Spurs fan on Monday, where I thought cut decisions didn't go our way, but then it's just what it is. They go for you and they go against you. And I would also say that if we didn't have VAR, if people remember that far back, things weren't even. It didn't even out because the bigger teams got the decisions and smaller teams didn't.
Yeah, it was. I think it's all through rose-tinted spectacles. Anyway, moving on, Fergie. Rich, quick question for you: if all your players turned up in a game week, what's the minimum score you'd expect?
Well, you'd expect 2 points per player, wouldn't you?
22?
22, perhaps.
Fergie, what was your score last week?
I scored 21 points this week, and I actually did. So I thought I was making a really clever move, which never work out, by the way, do they? By starting Udogie, it was 50-50 whether you're going to start or not. You know what? I'm going to take the risk, right? And when he started, I was giving it the old fist pump. Come on, what a good move! I didn't thoroughly expect a clean sheet. I expected a couple of points. Charlie Taylor's 1 pointer waiting on my bench, and I was thinking, at least I'm going to get 2 points. Look at me, what an FPL player I am. -4.
Did he get the assist for the Son goal that was ruled out? Was it Udogie?
It came from the left hand side.
I think it was. I only saw the highlights, so I didn't see the full game, but I think it was Udogie.
He was lucky to stay on the pitch.
I thought it was Basuma, wasn't it? I thought it was Basuma.
Was it Basuma?
He was lucky to stay on the pitch.
Oh, yes,
in the
it could have
first.
been. Yeah, it was Basuma. Yeah, you're right.
It was a pretty horrific 2-footed tackle on Sterling. He was really fortunate to get away with that, I think. I think, in all honesty. I know he didn't take his ankle.
No, I think you're right, Rich. It was Basuma, yeah.
But yeah, -4 stinks, really. And obviously it's no good holding him forward now. He's banned for next week. And with Romero and Van de Ven out injured as well, Spurs defence is going to be very, very lightweight over the next few weeks. But yeah, 21 points. I had Gordon and Mitoma. But yeah, Udogie just, even if he'd have not played, I would have had 1 point. I would have had 26 points, which would have been, reasonable. But I didn't have the worst of it. Let's just quick look at the mini league. Yeah, we'll get the violin moments.
Yeah, here we go.
Second, but firstly, just the mini league. You two guys now are in exact same points, exact same rank. You're both on 638 points. Well played after this week. I've dropped down a bit onto 626. I'm 12 points behind. All down to Udogie. All down to forward-thinking FPL play. I've just been, you played like Gabriel or whoever you play. It was obvious he was going to get like a poor turn, or you got Charlie Taylor. I got Udogie, and he gets a -4.
I played Gabriel, who gets unfairly pushed, and you guys both benefit.
You said it was fairly pushed. You said he was fairly pushed.
I said no. I said I thought it was a free kick. So my points were just wiped out. You get the jam with Gordon, so you take my clean sheet points away. And get your Gordon points. So I think that's a bit of karma, that Udogie.
Welcome everyone in the chat as well. Nachaket is in. Justin number 7. Matt Stevens is in. Ron is in all the way from San Francisco. He says 26 with 23 on the bench. Brian said killer 18 points. Mahomey says plenty of violin moments for Fergie. I've got a few. Jan Kalioski, Super Tiger, James Thompson, just a dad posting stuff. So Khan is in as well. Immortal Technique, Darren Parker, Alex Von Sivers, and many, many, many more. Apparently, I set this stream for 5:30 a.m. So apologies to everyone for that. I didn't realise that, but yeah, let's move on and have a look at a couple of the violin moments for this week. I mean, what a week! Start off with Richard Delahunty. Hi guys, my brother took out Udogie, Archer, and Trippier. Archer, Trippier a bit rough, and Bowen. So three returners for that, and brought in Simicast, Darwin, Walker, and Douglas Luiz from -8. He ended up on 17 points, -8, so leave him on 9 points. He said, I told him his team looked shit this week, and he went and panicked. Took a -8, took out Archer, scored 9, Trippier 9, Bowen 7 as well. So yeah, not a good one there. Finding Glory Tottenham Hotspur. Sold Diaz for Diaby. Diaz scores from the bench. Sold Sterling for a Dingra. Sterling got an assist. And sold Antonio for Darwin. Antonio got an assist, so 12 points. 16 minus 4. And one of the two of those points of Anana's clean sheet, not good. Robin Lennon says, going into the Spurs game, my weak bench of Baldock, Kabori and Jensen was matching my strong starting 11 on 17 points. No worries, I've got my Spurs reliables of Romero, Madison to come. 13 points overall. Gameweek rank of 10.1 million. Doubled in rank overall. Alan of Spurlark, a friend of mine at work, had both Romero and Udogi for -8, and Cash, a combined -8 from a defence. I don't think I've ever
different type of -8, that isn't it? Really,
I don't think I've ever seen -8 from a defence before. Yeah. And David Hillstone says, lad, Ian Barber in a work media league, he benched Pinnock for his 15-pointer in game week 10, and then this week, in game week 11. He put Doku second bench after he only scored 1 point the week before. Odegaard didn't play, so he assumed he was going to get Doku off the bench, but he ended up getting Pinnock, who was first on his bench, scored 15 points the week before for just 1 point. So over the 2 game weeks, 52 points lost for Ian Barber. Really good stuff there. And a couple of fellow content creators, I'm sure everyone saw, from Black Box scored 11 points overall, which was quite impressive. And Baker from Above Average FPL scored 14, while Adam took out Doku for a hit. And Doku he took out for
a -8, wasn't it? He took a -8.
Who would have outscored his whole team, which only scored 17, which is quite insane. And finally, just a trombone moment. If you remember last week, we had one where a guy accidentally brought in Tomiyasu when he was told to brought in Tsimikas, and Tomiyasu got the goal. This week, he took out Tomiyasu and brought in Tyreek Mitchell, popped up with a clean sheet and a goal for a 15-point haul in the worst.
What's his transfer this week?
I know.
I need to know that.
Can you tell us his lottery numbers?
Absolutely insane. The worst game week ever, I think. Well, I say worst. You know what? I only scored 21 points. I actually find the whole thing brilliant and hilarious because it's just fun. It's just talking points. It's you cannot write this. You know, if you were writing a sermon about what's the worst that could ever happen in FPL, you couldn't even make this up, could you? It's absolutely fantastic.
I don't think it's a good week to start boasting about skill.
No, absolutely not. FPL is 90% skill.
No, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Russell Baker just added into the chat. You made a violin for me next week, selling Haaland and Pedro to Watkins and Darwin, but he's keeping Alvarez. Yeah, and Lard said Az had 12 points with 3 Spurs to play and finished on 11, which is quite something. So FPL Focalism as well. Great to have you with us, Oscar. As is so many others. Lard got 41, 12 on the bench. Relic got 37, 18 on the bench. Torben got 29. Cedric had 18 points on his bench. But there's a few good scores as well with 30s and 40s. So very well played, everyone.
That's good scores.
Good, amazing scores this week. But yeah. So let's have a quick look then. At the kind of fallout, I suppose. We've moaned about the points. We've moaned about everything. We've moaned about teams and fans and VAR. But the actual fallout is quite interesting this week because a number of things happened. Rich, you wanted to talk about just like a couple of players, maybe. Newcastle, obviously, Wilson looks like he may be out. He hasn't been picked in the England squad, which means he's going to be out.
Yeah, I mean, Wilson was a bit of a differential for me on wildcard, and I hoped that I'd hold him through these 3 games in particular, just as a bit of a differential. But he is, historically made of glass, and looks like he may have maybe out for a while. Although I'm still quite hopeful that he might play at the weekend. It wasn't a sort of like a Van der Ven one. He didn't snap it and have to be helped off the pitch. He just came off at half time, and therefore I'm hopeful that he might make the Bournemouth game, and I might start him. So we'll see. But yeah, it doesn't look good for Wilson. And then of course you've got the the Tottenham carnage. You know, they've lost, you know, three
Lost
quarters of
half
their
their team.
defense in one match. You know, what is that going to do to, well, just their ability to win matches, you know, plus the question mark over James Maddison. You know, if he isn't going to play, does that dampen Son's appeal? I mean, previously after wildcard, I didn't get Son on wildcard, and that was my one regret, that I thought I've got to now start making moves to rectify that error. It doesn't feel like I need to rush into that now, you know, and I can wait and see what Tottenham are like without half their team. So yeah, there's some big fallout over there. Plus they've got a couple of suspensions, you know, and Romero's out for 3 games, I think, due to the ferocity of the challenge, and Udogi's out for 1. So yeah, and then you've just got more sort of, you know, rotation. You know, I was having a look actually at the sort of typical template team. You know, mainly features players from Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Brighton, West Ham, Villa, and Newcastle at the moment, and all of those teams have European football. And they're all playing. Some of them are playing right now while we're recording. Some of them have played this week. I mean, there is just constant, it just feels like every hour, every non-Premier League match, there's another piece of news about a player being flagged or a player not starting. So simply, you know, when you see Tsimikas at the front of that group there, he's starting tonight. He's playing football right now. You know, we're all debating over what that means for his starting chances, you know, at the weekend, and thinking, oh, maybe we should transfer him out straight away. You know, there's just a constant stream of well, it's not all negative, but a constant stream of doubt over players in our squads, and it's mainly caused by the fixture congestion and this sheer amount of games that, you know, 13 to 15 players in our squad have every single week. And then you add the domestic competitions back in, and it's not going to stop. There's 7 Premier League games in December. There's another 2 sets of European fixtures. There's those that are left in the Carling Cup, and they're all in the space of 18 days or something after the international break. I mean, it's madness. So
agreed.
It really does suggest, or it suggests to me, or it suggested to me on wildcard, you know, you've got to have a deep bench. You've got to have some players in reserve that will come on and at least score you some appearance points, and at least possibly score you some returns in the absence of injuries and rotations. That's just my thoughts on it. You know, I'm playing with a deep bench, and I'm glad I've got one right now, because this is going to get worse rather than better. I think.
Adam, what's your take on the kind of fallout then from Game Week 11?
Yeah, it's tough actually. I think Spurs have been hard done by, losing pretty much 3/4 of their defence, and this is a real big dilemma for me this week, because I think Maddison will be fine. I expect him to play, and with Southgate's comments earlier, but I'm not sure. I think Romero and Van der Ven are so good at playing out from the back. Really? They're so good at keeping the high line, and particularly Van der Ven is lightning quick. How is it going to impact Spurs, not just defensively, but from an attacking point of view as well? So are they going to get the same number of chances? Are they going to have the same fluidity of play? I don't know. And I think under normal circumstances, I'd be definitely keeping Son. I can't really see any reasons to get rid. But when you've got, you know, Saka's coming into some great fixtures who I don't own, and if we're thinking over the next 3 who scores more, it's tough. There's a lot of dilemmas. I agree with Rich. I think you need to have a full playing squad, but I think we've been blessed this year because there's some really good, well, I say really good, but there's a lot of cheap defenders that are playing that are 4 million, sub 4 million. So you like your Branthwaite, your Lascelles, etc., that can give us options. Charlie Taylor that can give, you know, even gives you a point or two. And then you've got the likes of Cole Palmer's, I think even Archer, I think is a really good sub. I mean, he's scored a great goal the weekend. And if you're looking at game week 13 and 14, I think he's playable against Bournemouth and Burnley. If Sheffield United are going to score, you feel it'll be from him. Bournemouth at home is a good one. So yeah, I sort of agree with Rich. I think we're going to, particularly in December, the games do come thick and fast. I think game weeks 14 to 15, there's 3 matches in a week, so you will see rotation there. So picking players that are talisman and now, so there's certain players we can be confident will play all 3 matches: Watkins, Salah, Bowen,
And Burma. Yeah.
and Bomo, Saka. There are certain ones. So I think sticking with those sort of players is going to make it make your life less stressful.
Yeah.
Going for people like Darwin, Alvarez, they're good options, but you're gonna be thinking, are they starting this game? Are they not? What do I do? Do I start them? Do I bench? It just, there's a lot of decision paralysis in there for me.
Sure.
So I think I prefer the approach of just focusing on talisman nailed players for their teams, even if they've got slightly tougher fixtures.
So speaking of talisman, and speaking of a few players who we're going to potentially look forward for game week 12 and onwards, there's no one more talismanic than Eze for Palace. It looks like he's back. Really good fixtures. Rich, you wanted to stick him up as a hot prospect?
Yeah, he's certainly flying under the radar. He's down to 6.1 million, I think now. So he's
cheap.
come down 0.4. So for players like me who've got very low team value, he can solve a lot of problems and give you a lot of upside. 3.4% owned or something as of last night, I think. So again, a real differential with those fixtures if you are looking to get a midfielder this week. Right in the foreground there, and I think on the bench tonight, Fergie, is our old friend Purvis Estupinan. Coming back onto the radar for Brighton. I think there's been a very positive comment from De Zerbi this afternoon about needing to save him for the weekend's match for Brighton because they haven't got much cover in that position. Absolutely. I think he said so. That's almost handing him a start, isn't it? Really,
so. And you couldn't ask for a better fixture than home to Sheffield United either.
Exactly. So he's suddenly shot to the top of my watch list as someone that I might bring in now.
Shot to the top of the hub predicted points for defenders as well. Straight back in because he's so attacking.
Yeah. I mean, the problem is that most people's defenses have got pretty good fixtures anyway. So
this week
I would have to take out Matty Cash for him when he's home to Fulham.
Yeah.
I'd have to take out Fabian Schär when he's away to Bournemouth. I could afford him in one move, but it's like, do I do that when my defender's got a perfectly good fixture anyway? You're almost like saying, well, let's just see if he is fit and he comes back and give him that game and then bring him in. But if he pulls off a 17-pointer against Sheffield United, you're going to be kicking yourself for not getting him in, aren't you? So he's really the standout, and I'm glad you put him in the foreground, Fergie. I think we've then got a couple of others on here. Kudus, I think it is, from West Ham, just off the shoulder there, looking really good. Scored an absolutely cracking volley, didn't he, in the game last week? Looking very exciting. Looked like he's established himself in the team. And then Rasmus Højlund scored a brace last night against the Danes and faces Luton at home this week. So the only issue is he does play for Manchester United. So do we? I don't think I'm ready to invest money in Manchester United.
Blame the ref.
No, exactly. And then this is probably going to be the one that attracts the most transfer. Is that Saliba in the background there? Yeah. So if you're going to get an Arsenal defender, that's probably a lot of advice we're giving out to hub members this week. Is if you need a defender, bring an Arsenal one in for the fixtures that we've got to come. They are nailed on for a few clean sheets, and Saliba looks almost undroppable.
Arsenal's run for the next 6, so they're top of the hub ticker. Home to Burnley, away to Brentford, home to Wolves, away to Luton. That next 4 are spanking, and then away to Villa, home to Brighton, which are probably better from like an offensive view. I think I think Saka's a tough one, isn't he? Because a lot of people brought him out when he had a knock. If you haven't wildcard, it's been tough to get him. I think Adam, you're on this boat now, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't have him.
Yeah, he looked really good last night.
Would you bring him in now though? Would you bring him despite the knock? Do you just think he's going to be all right?
I know. I think he'll be fine.
I think he will as well.
I don't have any concerns with that. It's a real big dilemma because there's a couple of routes I can get him in. So I can do it straight swap to Son. But something on that just doesn't seem right. I mean, Son is
still the number 9 for Tottenham. I just can't look past it.
No, I agree. The other route I can do it involves selling Diaby and Matoma, who have got Sheffield United and Fulham at home, and equally again, I'm not selling Diaby.
That could be a move of Doku-like proportions.
Yeah, I think. Well, I think the only way I will possibly consider doing it is if I will captain Saka. And when we talk about captaincy, on paper, he's got the best fixture this week. I don't think there's any doubt on that. But then, yeah, you've got to balance it up in terms of long-term plan. Actually, what's really interesting, I think you might mention it a bit later, but if you look at the hub, and I don't know if this is just because if it's changed Saka's minutes, but both the AI free hit and wildcard team don't have Saka in.
Okay. It may. I think he's flagged. I think he's flagged.
Is that why?
Yeah. It will have affected his minutes. It will have halved his minutes. So if he's got like a yellow 50%, it'll basically halve his minutes, which will halve his predicted points. So
yeah. Okay. He's been changed to 65 this week, and then 87, 87, 87. So it's not a huge.
Yeah.
It's not a huge change.
Yeah, the 65 will be flagged for this week, but if that's removed, it may.
It may knock him up.
I'd be surprised if he wasn't in there. I'd be surprised, but Bruno's decent as well. In all fairness, just having a quick look at for the next 4 game weeks on predicted points. Haaland is 31.8, Son 27.3, Salah 26.5, Bruno is up there still 22. Wilson. So I think I took this before Wilson. I don't even know if Wilson is flagged now, but he's still quite high at the moment. But obviously he's not in the England squad. So I think we can, have that.
Well, he's shown his 55 minutes the weekend in terms of minutes. So yeah, I think that's fair.
Darwin 21, Saka 21, Marte 20. So we're talking point whatever of a point anyway. It's really, really close.
Do you think Saka's essential? Not essential, but do you think to what sacrifice? Okay, there's a really better way of phrasing it. What sacrifice? What sacrifices would you make to get Saka in? There you go.
Well, if it's any consolation, I may go the other way and sell Saka to get Son in game week 13.
On 13.
So that would say to you that he's not essential, wouldn't it? Because I feel that I need Son, and actually I'm trying to maybe create the funds to do that in one move the following week. I won't do it this week, but I'll take the 2 transfers through the break. But I want to do it on the other side. Maybe that is. I'd have to create about 3 or 4 million if I sell another player. So I think I might go the other way because I need a captain. Because Son, when Salah and Haaland play each other in game week 13, Son is possibly the best captaincy choice for that week.
No, he'll be offside for fun that week. Can you imagine?
Your two go-tos are playing each other, and so that maybe not.
I heard Zoff on the wire earlier. He was talking about when Villa. I think it was Zoff. He was talking about when Villa play Spurs. There's just going to be one line of players on the halfway line. Just like literally, there goes condensed.
There's going to be goals in that game, isn't there?
Or a lot of offsides.
Watkins and Son are good options that week.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah. Anyone to add, Adam, to the kind of players you're looking at over the next few weeks?
I think Mbeumo is back.
Yeah.
I think he's. I think probably from next week for me, but. Even against the one thing that we know is against Arsenal and Liverpool, he'd be playing as a centre forward. It'll be in the 3-5-2. So I think going back to him, if you've got if you're looking to bring in a sub 7 million midfielder, I think that's where I would go.
That's almost locked in for game week 14.
Yeah, I think so. He looks really, really. I mean, he's just been consistent, hasn't he? So. I think that's right. I still when I was looking, what was quite interesting, and this is changed now, but when I was looking at the wildcard team on the hub earlier in the week, it didn't have Salah in it. So it's changed a lot, and I don't know. having watched the last couple of Liverpool games, he's been a bit on the periphery.
Absolutely.
And I don't want to sell him before Brentford because an amazing stat, which I've checked a couple of times, but he's got an attacking return in the last 14 games at Anfield and actually only one, and he scored in 13 of them. That's how good he is. And the only one he didn't was when he played Villa last year and he assisted Firmino. That's just incredible, isn't it, in terms of consistency?
So you're not going to burn your captain, are you?
No, I'm not gonna take him out this week, but I do think there is an I said it last week, and I actually think there is an option to take him out. Maybe next week when they go away to Man City, because what you can then start to do is really strengthen your squad for the coming matches. And I think this really depends on the narrative that you believe of whether, because it seems that Darwin's taking a lot of chances and hogging a lot of the XG, and it's, could you then go bring in Darwin, bring in Trippier, if you haven't got Saka or Son, bring those. So really increase or spread the funds a little bit, and we know we're going to get a lot of rotation, which we've talked about. I don't want to lose Haaland, and I'm not prepared to lose Haaland. Salah, I think, and he goes to the AFCON at some point, doesn't he? So which is Gameweek 2021. So you're not going to. I think just looking at it, I mean, the matches that you'd potentially lose him for: Fulham at home. So Man City away, Fulham at home, which isn't ideal, but there are in that game week, you got Haaland's got Spurs, Tottenham at home without Romero and Van der Ven. You're going to captain Haaland, aren't you?
100%.
So therefore, it could lead to doubling up on maybe Arsenal attack or wherever you want to go. You look at it beyond that. Sheffield United away in 15. Okay, that's not ideal, but then I think there's potentially other captains in there. I think Saka's away at Luton. You could have Darwin Núñez if you feel he's going to start that match. So I think there's other things. So I think it's one to monitor, because I can see the advantage of spreading funds around as long as you can make your captains work.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on going for Martinelli ahead of Saka?
Yeah, I think if it's a budgetary thing and you can go to Martinelli instead of Saka, I like the move. I think he looks really sharp. I think he looked sharp last night, and his points haven't really come yet.
No.
And he's too good a player, not to be on maybe 5 goals and 5 assists by Christmas. So I think you need to monitor the Nketiah situation, because he's notably not as effective with Nketiah.
Better with Jesus partnering with him, isn't he?
With Jesus or Trossard, either or playing the 9 role. So I do like the Martinelli shout, and I've sort of looked at it. Could I, that could be a route that I go.
Yeah. Fair. Anyone else, Rich? Just want to, obviously looking at, I think Gordon this week looks a good.
Yeah, I've got Gordon and
pick.
Wilson, so I'm contemplating whether to, if I'm going to take Wilson out, who I'd take him out for, and I'm tempted based on what Adam was just saying, and I'm tempted to get Darwin. It's punty. The only issue is you've got an international break, which notoriously gets benched afterwards, and he's playing City anyway, even if he does start. So the game week 13 fixture isn't ideal. So it feels like a one week punt, whereas Wilson might be all right after the international break, and he's might be all right out for another month. So you don't know. So it's kind of like it's a toughie. But Darwin's on my mind, and maybe based on the European fixture, Ferguson again. One of your.
He's not. Yeah, he hasn't started this evening, is he? He
hasn't started this evening. Home to Sheffield United. Any of those targetable teams. There isn't really a targetable striker for Arsenal this week against Burnley, because we just don't know who's going to start up front. You don't know if it's going to be Nketiah, Trossard, Havertz, whoever. It's too risky to go there for 1 week. just articulated the Darwin situation. So who else do you go for? Well, Ferguson probably going to start for Brighton. Because João Pedro started tonight.
I'm jealous of your third striker spot, Rich.
Yeah. Exactly, it's quite a nice rotatable position.
It is. You've got the opportunity the way now that it's all fallen to kind of almost target one. Well, not every week, obviously, because you'll have issues with the rest of your team, but you can really target things, can't you? I think whereas the midfield is reasonably locked in it, because it's very congested with excellent options.
Well, they're all doing well as well.
Exactly.
Like so, Palmer's doing well, Gordon's doing
exactly.
well.
You're not going to move any of those. Mitoma's got a good fixture, and Bowen and Son and Saka and Salah and Diaby, and they've all got good fixtures. Why they're all jammed in our team, but that third rotating forward spot is very exciting. I'm going to fun with it. Definitely go for Ferguson this week if you think. I think I really like that. Best captain for this week. Tricky one. Haaland top, even though they're away to Chelsea on predicted points, 7.4. He has got this habit, haven't he, of just scoring against anyone except home to Bournemouth. Son 6.9, Salah 6.9, Bruno, nice fixture, home to Luton 6.2, obviously scored now back-to-back games. Watkins 5.7, Mitoma there as well. In the poll, Salah top of the poll with 39% of the vote. Saka second with nearly 20% of the vote, and Haaland only third with 14.7% of the vote. Adam, who is your captain this week?
It's on Salah at the moment. Like just from that stat that I mentioned about the consistency, he just always finds a way. Particularly at Anfield, his record at Anfield is incredible, and it seems to work quite well rotating Haaland and Salah depending on who's at home. So. Yeah, I think if Haaland's at home, he'll be getting the armband. But failing that, I think it's got to be. Salah's my favourite. I can see the appeal of Saka because I just think that fixture's just so good, and that's the thing that I'm thinking. I think I said to you last week about my bias in terms of the order of matches. I think if the Arsenal game was on a Monday night or last Sunday, it would make me more inclined to bring Saka in and captain him. But I haven't got any obvious routes to get him. That's the frustrating thing. There's not. And do I sort of play it and gamble on the upside? But by doing so, I'm either going to have to take out Mitoma. It's sort of Mitoma and Diaby, or
both got good home fixtures.
Yeah, and there's no gap.
This is a good one. This is the one for Mitoma. This is you can't take me out with shit.
No, great. Well, exactly. Sounds it all Bowen, and you just think he's got Forest at home, and there's no guarantee. I mean, Saka. I mean, there's no guarantee starts. He could come off early. I think I'm just gonna have to miss it. Unfortunately, just cry when he gets loads of points.
It's a toughie.
Rich, your thoughts?
You got any money?
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. No, yeah. We're going on to transfer. Yeah, captain. I'm the same. I've got it bust on Salah at the minute. Although I wouldn't captain Saka just because of the injury risk. I think if he was very much on my mind, but he got that kick in the game, and it's enough to make me think, well, you don't captain someone who you think might not start, right? It's just not. It's a pet. Haaland's come off a flag, right? Everyone's going, "Oh, we're worried about Haaland," and immediately just scores a brace in his sleep in the Champions League. He's got 2 goals in him in any game he plays. So I think he's perfectly fine as a captaincy shout. I mean, I think Chelsea might have just won 4-1, but it's extremely flattering, and I think Manchester City could quite easily. I could think that win that 3-1 at Stamford Bridge on the weekend. So there's going to be goals in it for City, so perfectly good to captain Haaland, but I just think I'd always normally go for the home captain who has penalties, and so therefore Salah gets it just by default. Really.
Nicholas Jackson's not in the poll.
He's got a City, hasn't he?
So I think I put a tweet out. I think he he got 71 BPS with a hat trick, and someone pointed out in the comments afterwards that he'd have got 72 BPS for the 3 goals, so he's actually ended up on negative BPS.
Oh right,
the entire game if you take the goals away. So yeah, I mean,
I love after the game they kind of made out like
he had an absolute nightmare, didn't he? That he had that header which was at 1 yard out, and he managed to head it down into the ground, and I think Højbjerg managed to flick it over the bar or something, and it was celebrated like he'd won the World Cup. I mean, there was some comedy stuff in that game, that was overshadowed by a lot of the controversy. But
yeah.
After the game, they're kind of making out like, oh, is this the thing now? It does. If you're playing against 9 men who are playing on the halfway line, like if there's one game in your whole life, like he was guaranteed to score a hat trick in this that way. He did his best not to, didn't he? But he did. I'm being a bit harsh, but like that game is just, you just need to be wiped from everything in terms of Just on that briefly, what did you guys think of the way that Spurs played in terms of that constant high line? I'm very interested.
I think it's hard to play like that when you haven't got the players to pressure the ball, and I think that's the real big challenge. That said, until Chelsea were falling for it at times, and that it took them a while to really, really work it out. I've seen a lot of criticism of high lines. Probably being a Villa fan, it's like I mentioned every single week. Oh, why does Emery play the highlight? And it was similar to the Forest game. Why do they play the highlight? It's a really, really, and in defence of it, it's a completely valid tactic. And the reason Emery plays it is he wants to regain the ball back. I mean, Villa actually, if you look at the amount of times they catch teams offside, it looks so easy to play a ball in and get in, but they caught Forest offside 9 times. If you look at the matches, Villa, I think only City have been caught offside more than Villa. So actually, particularly with VAR to bail you out, playing offside and having a really well drilled high line is a massive advantage. And like I said, for Villa, they win a lot of free kicks from it. They don't actually concede that many goals from it. I think if I look back this season, Newcastle exploited it, but that was only because Tyrone Mings went off injured, who was completely controlling and mastering the line. I think when you go down to 9 men, I think it's pretty... because you can't pressure the ball and because of all the other things, I think it's a really risky tactic. And it's great that they want to have a go and press high and do all of those things, but I think you've got to have a bit of pragmatism in those situations. And had they have sat off Chelsea and defended deeper and made it more difficult and just tried to get some opportunities on the counter, they could have got something from the game. It wouldn't have been impossible. I think Chelsea would have found it difficult. So, yeah.
I just think I'm no master tactician, but to be honest, I think we were maybe talking before we came on. I just think that Tottenham have developed a spirit in the team, an attacking spirit, and and probably felt they might go down trying, but at least they carried on attacking and almost got something. Son had that chance right at the end to equalise. Eric Dyer was just ruled offside with a fantastic volleyed finisher. They still kept creating chances.
Bentancur missed a header from a yard,
and they possibly thought that by pushing up and playing a high line, that they're going to concede some chances, but they probably just thought Jackson would miss them all.
Which is valid. Or Sterling will keep being offside.
And in the because they kept catching him offside all the time, but in the end, even he couldn't miss a barn door every time. So it was basically, the result really flattered Chelsea, really flat.
I just loved it as a Spurs fan. I thought it was just, I think it made a real statement. They weren't top of the league for nothing. It's a whole mentality thing. It's a thing. It's the same with a high line. It's risk versus reward, but you're playing with the mentality that the reward is going to outweigh the risk, right? And the fact that if you play this high line, you're compact in the opponent's half. It dictates your whole style of play. It makes you win the ball higher, makes you score goals. If you don't play like that, it won't do it. And I just thought I thought it was brilliant, and it nearly worked.
Proud of them.
Yeah,
Fergie,
and I just think that if they'd
know.
have sat back, Spurs are not a sitting back team now. They're not a low. They haven't got the personnel. They haven't got the team. They haven't got the mentality now to sit back 9 men. They would have lost 100%. As it was, Dyer almost scored. Bentancur missed a header from a yard out. Son almost scored, and this was when they were 2-1 down. It could have, if they'd have equalised in the 85th minute, 88th minute, 2-2. Sit back then, completely agree, but you can't do it for half an hour. You can't do it for me for half an hour. This is not in their makeup. And the way Ange came out after and everything he said, what do you say? Even if we're down to 5, we'll have a crack, mate. I was just so proud of this the whole mentality. I would rather go down swinging like that than go down in a
hopefully go down to 5 players versus Villa. In fact, actually, I don't think you can go down to 5. Can you?
It gets abandoned once
7.
you hit 8, I think. Yeah, 7 or 8. Yeah, they might have gone for that.
Little bit more in the chat. FPL SWAT thing. I think Ange is a bit of a revelation. 7. It means Spurs
he's great.
Into attack
Great.
no matter what happens. John Shanley says Dyer and the tea lady centre back this weekend. Absolutely. Simicast just had a howler in Europe. Toulouse have just scored against Liverpool, and it's Simicast's fault apparently, which is very interesting.
Look at benching for Simicast this weekend. Then
James Thompson. This is a great week for a Rove captain. No one will be massively owned. Saka, Bruno, or even whisper it. Saka, Bowen, or even whisper it. Bruno. Yeah, so many options. Really good stuff. I wonder. Apparently Dunk is down with an injury. Does not look good as well. I wonder if this is the kind of week where you can actually go Haaland and get like a low, get him on a low EO captain. Maybe I might think about that, but I'll probably go Salah. I think.
Watkins. I'm surprised I'm not more going for Watkins because, you'll know, won't you? You're pretty good at home, aren't you?
We're very good at home.
Yeah.
I haven't ruled out that because it would make the game. I don't know if it would make it more fun or more tense. Actually, I'm not sure, but I haven't ruled out a Watkins captain. I mean, he's blanked a couple in a row. I think Fulham are tough to break down, but if Villa, I mean, they've played some tough defences and had no problems at home at all. I think if Villa score early, that's the sort of game where it could really open up and Villa can win comfortably and score a few. So yeah, I don't know. I do. It's just hard to back against Salah's consistency. That's all I would say, because he just finds a way. And I was trying to look at numbers to dispel not getting Salah in my wild card team, to dispel not captaining him this week. But I'm like,
just can't anywhere you look.
14 matches in a row. That is like, to get a return at home. It's just incredible. It's absolutely incredible. And we've always known he's been good at Anfield. And I think Anfield is a special place. So yeah, I think I'm going to lean, and I also like going with the midfielder if possible.
Yeah, same. Say the extra points.
With the exception of Haaland, he's just a different level.
Fergie is a punt this week. I fired again last week, chaps. I'm on fire. I've had the last 4. So Darwin 5-4-10, Simicast 6-6, Ferguson 8, Foden I picked, bench still came on and scored. This week I am going for someone who is only 5% owned, which I was very, very surprised at. There's probably a reason for it. I've mentioned him this evening already, but they have an absolute plum fixture this week. They've got the best fixture run for the next few game weeks. Adam said, I think he said he's a kind of player, he's not going to stay quiet for long. Any guesses, Adam, on who it is?
I haven't. No, I'm looking forward to being surprised.
Yeah, he is. So
Martinelli, maybe.
Gabriel Martinelli, I think, is 5% owned. I was really, really surprised at that. He is a proper differential and some plum fixtures coming up. So I think he could be an absolutely superb pick for the coming weeks. I'm on form. I'll tell everyone. Five on the trot.
How much is Martinelli?
7.7. So he's 0.7 cheaper than Saka. I like him. I love the double up as well, especially the next few
0.9 cheaper. He's 8.6 Saka.
It was a really good shout earlier as well for Edouard, just in terms of Palace's fixtures. So Edouard was playing really well, scoring lots of goals when Eze was fit. Obviously, dropped off a cliff since then. Eze is back. Elise back next week again. And Pepin has just shouted out as well, get in Brennan Johnson. Yes, for those who haven't seen, Richarlison's just had surgery. He's going to be out for weeks as well. The Spurs haven't got the best fixtures, but 6.5 of Brennan Johnson could be a good shout as well. FPL Freddy says Douglas Luiz 47 points from 5 home games. Christ, if that's right, that is unbelievable. But yeah, some interesting stuff there. Adam, we've got your team on screen for game week 12. Do you want to run us through your thoughts and your plans?
Oh, yeah, this is a hard one. I mean, my team's actually on paper it looks good. And I'm always nervous about these weeks. So I've got Areola in goal, Cash, Gabriel, and Anderson at the moment. All of those have got good home fixtures. Got Son, Bowen, Matoma, Diaby, and Salah. Again, all got, with the exception of Son, all got good home fixtures, and then Watkins and Haaland. One of my transfers will be burned to Lascelles as long as we don't get any news on that Botman's back imminently. Yeah. I want the money, and it's just such a cheap route into the third best defence. I see it as a bit of a no-brainer. I might still bench him. I'm not sure yet. It'll be either it'll be between him and Anderson, but I think there's probably more upside with Anderson than there is with Lascelles. But I'm happy to have him and start him in particularly Newcastle's home game. So he won't quite cover Trippier, but at least it gives me another 3 million to do something else for my team. The big dilemma that I've been talking about, and it's really interesting looking at the different review models. So the Hub AI pretty much says do the defensive transfer and save one. When I looked at FPL review, it sort of pushes down the line, do the Saka to Son move or Son to Saka move. It's a really, really tight one, I think, because there could be huge upside in the move. I think from the conversation today, I'm less inclined to do it. I think if I was going to captain Saka, I would. So I think at the moment it will just be burned to Lascelles and just hope that Bowen, Matoma and Diaby can, come up trumps in
cover any difference between like Son and Saka, but Son's still he's still incredible. Pick, honestly is.
Yeah, I don't really want to lose Son because I think I was looking at potentially if I was taking him out, it was only for the 3 games of Wolves, Villa and City, but as Rich has pointed out, he's a really good captaincy option against Villa, and I don't like captaining players against Villa, but if I don't own Son and I'm going to be watching that game, it's going to be a horrible
and Son has also got a fantastic record against Man City as well. He scores
he has,
every time he plays them.
But if you look at his fixtures over the Christmas period, so when they go through, and by the time they get Romero back, which they've got West Ham at home, Newcastle at home, Forest away, Everton at home, Brighton away, Bournemouth at home, so it's such a good run.
You take him out and spread the funds, you find it hard to get him back, unless you go from Salah down to him.
Well, I think there'll be a point where I'll try and get him and Maddison. Yep. So I might just have to miss Saka and just hope he doesn't do too much damage, and I might go double Arsenal defense a bit further down the line. But yeah, it's not a nice, but I in a week or so as well, a couple of weeks, I might have a route to Martinelli or Saka by getting rid of other players. So yeah, I just won't watch that game. I will turn off all devices and hope I survive somehow, and he misses a penalty and only plays 55 minutes.
On telly, that one?
I don't think it is. It's 3:00 kickoff. So the best thing I can hope is he gets subbed after 58 minutes, having missed a penalty and getting a yellow card for yelling at the referee. I mean, if he gets sent off, I don't want him to get sent off. I'll be happy with that.
Habayaya Adam recommends Burn to Maguire, which is quite interesting.
Not a chance. On serious note, I looked at that move and I think I think it's good for 1 week. I think it's good for the Luton game.
Yeah.
But United have got Casemiro out. I mean, they're conceding 4 to a Copenhagen. And
That's
actually,
the
if you
ref's
look at the
fault.
reverse,
That's the ref's fault. Remember.
oh yeah, that's a really, really good point. I just think I don't trust the United defence, and also there's no guarantees that Maguire won't fall out of favour again. I think with Lascelles, I trust the Newcastle defence. Even when they play the likes of Chelsea and Man United at home, they cleaned against both of those teams last season. And I think the really good thing about Newcastle is it's the system they play. I think it's a bit of a shame they haven't got Bruno Guimaraes this week, but it's a system they play that makes them strong, and the press it and all of that. They play as a unit, so I don't think it matters having a couple of the key players out like Burn and Botman.
If you want your own recommended transfer each and every week, click the link below. Get your team rated for free by Fantasy Football Hub, and it will take you through that. Rich, let's have a look at your team.
Yeah, slightly different, but Adam's comments on Maguire are very relevant because I could, if it wasn't for the Saka and Wilson players, I could bench boost this week. If you look at my defence, I could play all 5 of them. And I've got a bit of a benching dilemma to work through. So I play, at the moment, I don't know what draft you pulled off the hub, Fergie, but at the moment version. I'm playing Cash, Gabriel, and Maguire. And that's what it's done. Yeah. So it's put them in, but on my bench, I've got Fabian Schär, who's away to Bournemouth, and I've got Tsimikas, who's at home to Brentford. Now you could play all 5 of those. And which do you think I've got it right with those 3? I mean, you've got to play Maguire against Luton, despite all the feedback about United. Otherwise, what's the point of spending that extra money and having him in the team? It's
I agree.
The best fixture of the season.
You wouldn't play Schär ahead of Palmer?
I would probably play Wilson ahead of Palmer, in the hope that he starts, and put Palmer to the bench, or I'd put Schär ahead of Palmer. I mean, Palmer's playing City at home. I've just let 12 points go by not playing him against Tottenham. He's clearly Chelsea's best player at the moment, and he's on pens, and we seem to be getting one every week.
And Kunku's going to be back soon, which is interesting.
Yeah, I don't think that'll threaten Palmer's place. I think he'll be fine. So yeah, it is a real selection headache for me. I would probably be going 3-4-3 this week, and I'll start Wilson, or I'll sell Wilson for Núñez or Ferguson.
Nice.
And really go strong on the fixtures, and just think if we get a report tomorrow, obviously I'm waiting for team news on Wilson, but he says he's going to be out for a while. I think the comment that we learned it here about, I think Maddison, Saka, and one other flag player got selected for the England squad, but Wilson being selected is quite key, isn't it? So obviously Gareth is consulting with the managers, and they're just being honest with him. And
I'd be very surprised if Wilson played this weekend and then said he's not available for England. I just don't. I don't understand that.
Exactly. So Gordon's going to cover that fixture anyway, and probably play up front for Newcastle. So yeah, selling Wilson looks like the more punty thing to do, but I also may make a much more dullard move and just release some money, because I've got 0 in the bank, and I might just do Charlton sales and just get 1.1 million, because that would allow me to go Saka to Son, either immediately or next week in that game.
I like the Ferguson move. What about Højlund? Interested in that at all? Home to Luton for a 1 week punt?
No, I'm not going anywhere near United. No, okay. Not interested.
I like the Ferguson move. I think
Ferguson looks good and gives me a chunk of change. Give me about 1.8.
It'd be nice to have the double up of Matoma and Ferguson as well. So if they go to town on him, you get some real points there. Yeah.
What would you do, Ad, for me?
I think if Wilson's not playing, I'd get rid of him. That would be, who would I go to? Have you got any money in the bank at all?
Nothing.
So you could go to Darwin, couldn't you?
Yeah. Go down to Darwin, leave a bit of cash. I'm still carrying 2 free, so I can still move it around.
Yeah,
Darwin's benched this evening as well, so it's very likely to start.
I'd be tempted to go Darwin. I think.
Actually.
I mean, he had like 10 shots against Luton. I mean, I know it's Brentford.
Yeah, I mean, it just feels a bit sad burning a transfer on a defender when all the defenders have good games. Just seems a bit silly, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
You'll get that upside with Darwin or Ferguson, Rich.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't do it?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't do it?
All right. I think so. It's more fun, isn't it?
I appreciate Ferguson looks good, but I found him underwhelming of late. And his shot volume's been quite low as well.
He only tends to get like 65, 70 minutes as well.
Yeah, and whilst he's got the better fixture and he could do well, and I wouldn't be surprised I think Darwin will have more shots and chances. He's just an absolute XG magnet. Now, I'm not saying he'll score any of them, but
you get the chances.
That's he'll get chances, which is what you'll get the excitement of watching him.
Is that game on telly?
I bet it isn't.
It shouldn't have a bearing, but it does, doesn't it? If you can watch your new transfer.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, exactly. Let's have a look which one's on.
While Adam's looking at that, Hubby recommends Cash to Estepinian this week, Rich.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Estu is another. Well, if you don't go Ferguson, then and there's a chance Wilson plays, then Shah to Estepinian might be what I'll do, because I've already got my 3 Newcastle, and ultimately I do want to bring Lascelles in as the value cover.
I'm sorry to disappoint Rich. The guys at Sky obviously aren't into FPL or don't factor it in when picking games because of Villa versus Fulham, Brighton versus Sheffield United, Liverpool versus Brentford. They've decided to show West Ham versus Forest.
Oh my god!
Oh, in captain.
That's
Kudus in and captain.
Yeah, there you go. And then it's Chelsea and City later on.
A quick look at my team before we go. Areola home to Forest. I've currently got Cash, Tsimikas, Gabriel, Salah, Son, Saka, Mitoma, Gordon, Haaland, Watkins, which I'm quite happy with. Got Archer, Taylor, and Udogie on my bench. So I think what I'm going to do is sell. I missed his drop, but I'm not that bothered for that. I think I'm going to sell Udogie for Lascelles, and just bank the 0. What will that be? 0.8, I think it'll be for next week. I think.
The Lascelles move it's a bit boring, but it does make sense, doesn't it?
I can have the 2 next week with 0.8 million in the bank then as well, because I look at my team this week. There's nothing I would change. They've all got spanking fixtures. So I've got an old version. That my players are flagged in an old version, but Ash and Haaland are both fine, I think. So yeah, I'm not sure who obviously I'm not playing Taylor. Would I play Lascelles ahead of Tsimikas? The thing is, he's got no attacking intent, as he Lascelles at all. So I'd probably play. You're just
gonna probably get a player that's nailed till Christmas, aren't you?
Yeah,
that's pretty decent.
It's what the 0.8 does, I think, as well for me. Is that I can shift around then to any midfielder, because I've got nothing in the bank. So at the moment, I can't get to like a Bowen or someone. I can't get to anyone like that, or Martinelli or wherever else. So yeah, I think
I must admit, I'm envious of your team this week. I think you've got a really, really strong team. I think the big difference is you'll have Saka and Gordon against my Diaby and Bowen, which could go either way.
This is the thing.
I think I prefer yours, but
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it works out. No doubt, Adam, you'll outscore me by 25 points as usual, and yeah, I'll be kind of bemoaning my luck again. But no, I could, like I say, I'm enjoying this season regardless of my ranking stuff, because I've got the team I want, and the rest is with the gods. It just got I played. I saved the wild card. I played it well, I think, in terms of getting both Saka and Son. I squeezed every penny to get them in, sacrificed elsewhere, and now it's just in the lap of the gods in it. So we just have to hope. My recommended transfer as well is Cash to Estepinian. I just think Lascelles is probably too much of a gift to give up for future moves.
You going Udogie to
Udogie, yeah. I just think Udogie. I just think Spurs defense now without the rest of them. They got Villa, they got Man City. I just don't see any upside with Udogie for the coming weeks. So 0.8 gives me 0.8 then. Options then going into, I'm going to want Mbeumo as well, aren't I, in game week 14. So Just, it gives me options that kind of 0.8 then. And, in defence could have a issue with Simicast, potentially Gabriel. We're banking on Gabriel starting, but he hasn't started nearly half the games this season. And it seems to be these easy home games, like home to Burnley. All of a sudden, we're in a bloody mess again, aren't we? So, Jana's just quickly asked thoughts on Livramento.
Yeah, good pick. Could be. I'd like to see how Newcastle set up with so many
another couple of games.
Burnout now.
Exactly.
Will they keep swapping Trippier over? Will Livramento played? I think he played up front, or he played as a winger in the Champions League. So he hasn't immediately gone into one of those fullback positions. So yeah, I'd just wait on Livramento, and it may be worth just the extra 0.3 to just bank on Lascelles.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I'm sure it's good West opinion or not. No, it just seems like a really
it's punty, isn't it? It's punty.
It seems like a real potential upside move.
But then you grab the 20-pointer all for yourself, don't you?
This is it. This is. I haven't really got that play. I think I've got a good combination of players. Having like Saka and Son, and stuff. But I haven't really got that. I can do it. I can do it off Shah. I can do Shah to Estepinian, just sideways move for free, same money, and I think I might even be 0.1 in the bank. But that sounds more exciting than ourselves. It does. So that is it from us for this week. Thank you so much to everyone who joined in the chat. Those who watch it back and those listening on the podcast version, your support, as usual, is very, very much appreciated. Adam, thank you so much for joining us. Where can people get hold of you?
At Hopta Stats on Twitter.
And Rich, thank you so much too. Where can people get hold of you?
Yeah, also on Twitter on @RichClarke FPL.
If you haven't looked at Hub Ultra at all, which is Rich's baby, go and take a look. Fantasy Football Hub Ultra product. Rich is building an absolutely fantastic community of Ultra members, which just go and have a look at it. It's absolutely superb. My handle on Twitter is @FFH_Fergie. Drop us all a follow. Also at FFH_HQ for the Hub and at FFH_Green Arrow. This podcast video will be on the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel, with the podcast versions available on all major podcast platforms. If you like what you watched, please press the like button. Remember to subscribe to the channel in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. If you enjoyed your listen, please rate the podcast and leave a comment. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Obviously, international break next week, so we get a week off next week, previewing game week 13 and reliving Saka's hat-trick. In the meantime, the very best of luck for game week 12. Enjoy the international break, and may all your arrows be green. Good night all.